Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Sunday, November 25th, 2018. We hope everyone here at the Grand Solar Minimum family had a great holiday, Thanksgiving, and happy Black Friday shopping and whatnot. Anyway, let's get started with the show. Take a look at some space weather conditions. Hendrik will be joining us here in a few. But right now, our solar wind speeds, we are reporting them at 339 kilometers per second with a density of 3.5. And taking a look at our sun, we are blank. Oh, no, we're not. AR 2728. This was the sunspot that we saw kind of just fester out of nowhere a couple days ago. It actually is quite remarkable, and I'll show you guys a little footage of that. Definitely a smaller sunspot for number 14. Still sitting at 194 spotless days for the year as we wind into December. Now, take a look at this. The TCI is now at 38 billion watts. The coldest we've ever seen it was 20 billion watts, and that was back in February of 2009, which was one of the deeper minimums we had in over 100 years. So we correlate with this information right here with the fact that this minimum is expected to be worse than the 09 minimum. I wonder if we have a shot at breaking this record from 2009. So we'll keep an eye on that. And this is the first time since we've been monitoring this that we've seen the TCI actually drop below the 40 billion watts number at this time. Take a look at our KP indices at 0 with a KP max of 1 for the 24-hour max. And look at this coronal hole. This was the one that we were kind of following on a couple days ago, the backside, when I was showing you guys the other angstrom of the reverse side of the sun. Watched it come around the eastern limb. Take a look at that in motion real quick. That coronal hole has finally arrived in the vicinity. And it is not yet Earth facing, but there's that sunspot we were talking about. This just kind of formed out of nowhere Saturday night into Sunday, and quite remarkable. We were on a quake watch according to suspicious observers, and 2 days ago he accurately nailed it. And as we've seen 3 earthquakes that have registered 6 point or higher, and a couple of them we had to fact check. One was in Iran, 6.3 USGS. And we had another 6.1 as well. I can't remember the exact location, but we had 3 of them in just the last 2 days, ever since we had that Quake Watch alert from suspicious observers, and I'm sure other channels as well, but that's where I heard my info first from. So we'll keep our eyes on the sunspot if there's any chance of any solar flare activity from this. Right now, it doesn't appear so. Let's go take a look up top here. We're at the grandsolarminimum.com website, which, by the way, we are starting the beginning stages of revamping it. But here we are, solar proton flux. Really, since if you guys look all the way to the left here where my arrow is, this is where that sunspot kind of flared up. That was the immediate birth of that spot. And really, since that time, we haven't seen much activity. In fact, it does look like it's subsiding. So this sunspot may be gone here within a couple of days. But looking at KP indices, we are low. So definitely keeping our eyes open for any more volcanic activity, possibility of more earthquakes, 6 point or higher, maybe even closer to the 7 point range. And what did I see over here? There was something that I guess we had another comment going to the sun. Take a look at SPACEWEATHERlive.com. I wanted to look at the reverse side of our sun. There is our sunspot that kind of just flared up out of nowhere. But if we take a look, we've got some decent sized coronal holes beginning to form, and should keep our eyes on as far as any kind of geomagnetic activity. That big one there we've been watching for a while. More coronal holes as we go to the reverse side of our sun that is opposite of Earth facing. And so definitely do not see any more potential active areas for sunspots, again, unless we see something of the variety like we just saw here over the past 2 days where it just suddenly develops. Mari is with me as well. I think I got a message on our Google notifications. I think Henrik is trying to figure out if he has the right link. So I just wanted to tell my producer, Mari, that real quick. Let her know what's up. Take a look at our TSI readings for November 17th, 2018. We came in at 1360.67. So TSI is remaining kind of stable right now in that 0.6 value and has not changed much for the past several days. And I guess a few things that we were going to discuss today with Henrik and Mari's here as well, but the weather, of course, along with grand solar minimum. But I wanted to have this conversation last week with Henrik and others as well. But it's, to me, here lately, we have seen more and more talk about solar cycles in mainstream media news reports. Mari, I know you took a look at the climate report that NOAA had put out. And, we didn't get a lot of time to go over it. We've been a busy holiday weekend, but was there anything that grabbed you from what you looked at in the beginning of that report?
I have not been able to read it fully. However, I did look to see if it included any sort of solar activity when it comes to assessing our climate. You would think if you're going to do an assessment of the climate that it would include solar activity, and I did not find anything. So I have not read through the whole paper yet. I plan on doing that tomorrow. So I don't know. I was a little disappointed, but we'll see as I read through it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the report that the White House, the Trump administration, in my opinion, I think the presidency right now, the president's cabinet, the entire administration right now has egg on their face because we've read and reported so many things where we've seen Donald Trump talk about, we don't know that man has caused this, and he thinks it's natural, and he thinks that the cycles change, and he thinks that climate goes one way and it comes back another, and he doesn't really believe in the whole man-made global warming nonsense. But 2 days ago we have this release by the administration, and it almost feels like that this release was not directly from Donald Trump, but the media uses the words Trump administration because right now the government and NOAA, thanks to the Obama administration and other administrations, but they have such a close-knit relationship and they've always been trusted. So the administration only used the report because it's the only report that's coming out. And for some reason, I don't understand why other things aren't being factored. And Mari pointed out that solar cycles are not mentioned at all during this climate report that I'm referring to from the White House. And they're just simply regurgitating what NOAA is saying about the state of the climate. And I read a little bit about it, honestly, and I'm very disappointed. Henrik, I see you have joined us. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, my friend.
Thank you.
We were just starting to talk about how the mainstream media is starting to talk about solar cycles in the weather reports and forecasting. Not so much on the air on TV, but we're starting to see articles coming in now where weather media outlets are referring to the solar minimums, and this is why we're seeing the cold weather. But I don't know, did you get a chance to look at the NOAA report that came out on the climate? Because the media was quick to say that it was from the Trump administration. The only thing the Trump administration had done was release a report that every presidency releases through NOAA. So it wasn't like that the Trump administration had actually sat down and put this report together and threw it out there. They were just using the information that, like other presidencies before Trump, have done in the past. And I guess really what I want to know is, what's it going to take, or what do you think it could take, for people to start finally changing the narrative, and maybe NOAA taking a good look in the mirror and say, okay, we've got to change some things, the way we set up our forecast models?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, of course. I really don't know what they can do to change it, but I strongly believe that they have to do something. You know, if you're looking at France, the last couple of days, people are going crazy about the higher prices on fuel. And that's just the start. That's only France. That will come to many other countries. And I think the riot that has been in France is only the beginning. And I really mean that. That is only the beginning. And with that will spread, you know. And when people find out that the climate change has been one big lie, I think people will go totally crazy. Not like in a, what should we say, yeah, there will be riots a lot of places. I think maybe not like a revolution, but then again, I think, well, why not? Because people have been lied to for so many years, and when they finally found out, you know, that they have been paid a lot of money to taxes, they have been doing nothing good. And what does it help that they are rising all the prices on fuel in France? People are still gonna use their cars and trucks and buses and what the do we have, you know, and all the airplanes are still up in the air. So it's not gonna help the weather or the climate a single % anywhere in the world that you are giving taxes to people. So they really have a very big problem. And now you're talking about the solar cycles. Yes, I know I have been read a couple of articles in Denmark about the solar cycles, but surprisingly, I cannot find them anymore. So that was why I was linking you today to the Russian site, and I was so surprised when I saw that site. The one article after another from different kind of Russians scientists who absolutely don't believe in man-made climate change.
Yeah, and we're starting to see a little bit more of that too. People really starting to question the information that they're getting, like from organizations like NOAA. And I found it very interesting um, when we saw the article on the Weather Channel talking about we're cold right now because of where we are in the cycle. And I think I see the article you were talking about. Most of warming trends since 1980 is naturally driven, not CO2 driven. And, you know, I'm looking at these articles that you had sent me for the No Trick Zone. And the problem with this, Henrik, and there's no problem with the data, but the one thing that AGW and people like NOAA and their followers, they'll criticize us for using a link from a blog site. But I've said this many times over and over again. I don't care if the information is coming from a blog. If the information is correct and the data is raw, that's all that matters. The blog's just displaying the data. The blog is just explaining itself. And, you know, unfortunately, the platforms for the truth lie on some of these blogs on the internet. And it's just sad that, you know, I got an example I wanted to use tonight for the show, and then I'll talk about some snow and stuff like that. But, you know, on Facebook, I guess you could say I've harassed NOAA about this article just a few days ago on our live show. And just yesterday, they shared it again. And I didn't even read it the first time all the way through. And then I kind of read it tonight a little bit. And this part here, this makes me laugh, actually. I'll read what I'm trying to point out here. Champaign and cement have long provided skiers with contrasting conditions, but regardless of the snow types that historically divided U.S. resorts, many of those resorts are now united by a shared problem: shrinking ski season. Now, this article was out on the 19th of November. I just want to point that out real quick, guys. Ski season is starting later and ending earlier, McGovey says, an observation shared by every researcher interviewed for this story. Now, that's what this guy's saying. All right, here's quoted now. We still get plenty of storms, but around here, I used to ski on Thanksgiving when ski resorts really got going. Now I'm lucky if I could ski that early. Now, we're talking about Lake Tahoe here. They're talking about a region that is known for its ski resorts. Sierra, the Colorado area, Nevada. This is the area where he's saying that the Rocky Mountains in Utah, you know, that the snow is going to be far few in between, and it'll be more compacted because of the rain and the warmth. And then you've got that again. He says, I'm lucky if I can ski this early. And he's referring to Thanksgiving. And then the next story I found is impressive mountain snow totals from Thanksgiving weekend. And this is like snow, like in Wyoming, they're talking about 40 inches near Elk Mountain. You know, here, Rabbit Ears Pass, 26 inches, Loveland Pass, 20 inches. You know, so this article that we just looked at 5-6 days ago is acting like that, you know, we don't get that kind of weather anymore. We're lucky if we see something like this. And then, boom, out of nowhere, here we go with heavy amounts of snow in the mountains early in Thanksgiving. And my favorite part of the this article here, where is it at? I'm skimming through this. Oh, where is it at? Oh, this is funny. I thought it was this article here where, oh yeah, high mountain passes and ski resorts were big winners when it came to the snow this weekend. So NOAA's featuring an article that has a person who says everybody who's been interviewed for this story has said the same thing. We're going to be lucky if we see snow for Thanksgiving. We don't get that kind of snow anymore. And then boom, high mountain passes and ski resorts were big winners when it came to the snow this weekend. So I guess what I'm trying to point out is, why is NOAA trying to regurgitate and feed us rehashed stories every other 4 days? Is it because it's a slow news week for their warming agenda? Because there isn't any warming agenda right now? It's just like with this this website right here, National Snow and Ice Data Center. Unusual warmth continues in the Arctic, the Pacific side. And we talked about that a little bit in grand solar minimums, especially. The history has shown that Alaska is a warmer climate during these minimums. So this is not unusual, except for if you're following by the cycles. And when these only happen every 150, every 200 years, that's when it becomes unusual. But they won't mention grand solar minimum in their discussions. And I don't understand why. They've got the truth right here in front of us. And, you know, they want to focus on the unusual warmth on the Pacific side, but they don't want to focus on the fact that how fast the sea ice extent is growing right now. Right now, for 2018, the 24th is the last date they have the measurements for up there. 10.5 million squared kilometers. Okay. Now, this gray line here is the mean average. That's what they like to base. This is good, solid average growth, and this is where it should be. If we're in a cold climate, this dark gray line basically in the shaded area is the ballpark where we should be. Now, guys, look at how fast this gap continues to close between these two lines. And I'll tell you right now, we've been about 1 million square kilometer apart from where we were on this average here And let me show you for November 24th, we should be at 11.178 square kilometers, millions of square kilometers. All right. 11.178. And we're officially right now at 10.5 at November 24th. Let me get on the actual right one. There we go. 10.509. So we are now 0.6 millions of square kilometers away from the mean average after having a pretty low start. Pretty bad. Being the gap started off at 2 million. Just about 2 million. Just a little under 2 million. So we're watching the ice grow. We're watching the sea ice extent get, look at this. Now, did you see the missing data here? Isn't that convenient? Hendrik, I don't know if you could see on your phone. The yellow spot is all the missing data for some reason.
Oh, it's very small here, but I gotta remember to say to people that everything is natural with the ice. Of course, that it has been a warmer period, but that period is over.
Yeah. No, you're right. I believe that warming period had really officially ended in 2016, maybe started ending in 2014. That's when we saw the first real bad disruptions here in the United States on the polar vortex. And in 2014 was something special. January 2014. I know from the beginning of the month, right around from the 14th of January. Actually, it started on the 12th of January. So around the 12th of January, all the way through the 22nd to 23rd, we had some sub-zero temperatures in the lows for multiple days in a row. And there were 2 days where we saw negative 17 degrees. Now, I lived in Southwest Ohio at the time, and that kind of weather just doesn't happen in that region. And it was weird because, the next winter, 2015 into 16, we had the El Nino, and I was wearing shorts in December in Cleveland, Ohio. So, but I believe that's when that was the first indication that we were going to have trouble down the road, was when we started seeing that really, really deep Arctic air reaching the United States. Last time I talked to you, you said you'd started noticing more articles in your local papers that were talking about solar cycles and colder, or at least colder temperatures. Is that still the case for you right now?
Well, actually, it was not in the local papers. It was in all the mainstream news. A lot of people was writing. In the summer there were so many articles out about now it will get like this every year. We will have a hot summer every year, and all the winters will be hotter from now on. And I actually have taken, where did I put it? Just one of many I have found here from the Danish TV2 weather from September 26th this year by a guy called Thomas Mørk. This summer 2018 was long, dry, and hot. Yeah, he forgot to mention that we went straight from winter to summer. We have not spring, but that's another case. And then he's writing, I have been looking at all the summers and winters in Denmark since 1874, and in 9 out of 10 cases, we did have a normal or a warmer winter after a long hot summer. So this winter will be gray, a lot of rain, and warm. And now they're totally wrong.
It's completely wrong. And just reading from this right here, once ski season is underway, Moon says the best conditions are not too cold for skiers to endure or for snow continue to fall, but cold enough to build up powder. Having dry spells or warm weather or rain or snow are very problematic, she adds. Of course, there's the year-to-year luck of the weather, but it's now happening against the background trend of warming temperatures. And I just can't believe they continue. I mean, I don't know how bad the cold is for you. You always think it's colder when you live in an area where it's experiencing the cold temperatures. So when you hear about warming temperatures, you scoff at that. But here in the U.S., we've had quite a bit of cold weather. Now, I don't know what your winter or your fall has been for you so far. Have you guys seen snow in your area of the woods?
Sorry.
Have you had
Yes,
any?
we have the snow one time, not a lot, but we have. But we did have a lot of frost nights, especially down in my garden. I live like it's going down, so that will be colder in many other places. And already now I have oh, I have not been. This is only in what's called Celsius. I'm sorry. Minus 4.7 is the coldest it has been, and the next 3 days we will have frost in the night, and then it will get a little warmer again, and then after that it will get colder. So all in all, it's typical weather, and yeah, I would say typical Danish weather for now.
And that's what I feel like too here in the U.S. And we've had some cold blasts in November. And as we let the GFS play all the way to December 1st, I'm going to pause it on the 1st of December. But if you look at the radar for temperatures, I mean, this is about normal right here in the West, in the Rockies, in the mountains, Utah, Wyoming, Montana. They're talking about these areas not experiencing cold enough temperatures for snow or whatnot. But as we look at this into December, I see average or below average temperatures for most of the country. Now, the Midwest and the East Coast, it looks like we attempt to try to get into the 40s for highs. Ohio looking at 50s and possibly 60s. And then it seems as we get deeper into December, that colder Arctic air once again starts to become more dominant in the West than Northwest. Wow. I mean, by the time we get to the 4th of December, we start to see a strong flow of colder air, also for Alaska as well. So I'm just trying to make sense of the NOAA Fed news and why they continue to be one of the very few people that deny that we're cooling and that we're having a average or below average autumn here in most of the parts of the United States. And still they want to talk about how retreating snow from elevations rain-soaked powder due to warming by man-made. And before you got on the air with us, I was expressing my disappointment with Donald Trump and with his administration releasing the report on the climate. And this thing's bad. Like he's been talking about here lately about he doesn't believe that climate change is man-made, and he believes that these are natural cycles that happen. And that's why he wants to roll back these regulations, these taxes, carbon taxes. He thinks they're job killers. He thinks they're economy killers. But then yet somebody in his administration relies on NOAA and releases this report. And I don't know. I'm just frustrated that somebody in his administration didn't put the brakes on this. And, why there wasn't more. And of course, they're going to blame the fires on man-made climate change as well. Well,
yes, of course.
I don't get it. I just wish there was more loyalty in our government, because this kind of makes this. I mean, when you see the media labeling it as the Trump administration released this report, it wasn't the Trump administration that released this. This is the report they received from NOAA. And I think one of my new things is how I want to show the president, and hopefully someone is watching from Washington, or someone who knows someone from Washington watches one of our programs and points out, not because we're really smart here, but we're pointing out obvious things, obvious mistakes, obvious flaws about the data. And really, my new mission is forget about trying to debunk man-made global warming. This is kind of in that bag as well, but I want to get the message out that NOAA's data is flawed, even against with what the opposite is actually happening all around the world. We're on Twitter. Mari is constantly posting articles, posting different graphs, talking about everything from, here's one from Starman, famine in India due to lack of any rainfall for 2 years, 1661. That was during the Maunder minimum. I mean, look at all these famines that we had here in the 1600s, 1651. famine of East France. You're talking about rioting right now over fuel prices in France. Like you said, what do you think it's going to be like when we start seeing even more crop loss and crop shortage? Mari, I'd like to get you in on it real quick because you pointed out an article earlier about how Canada is experiencing a potato crop issue.
Yeah, they have had millions of dollars worth of loss. And the article discussed about where they're going to get potatoes to compensate for that next year. And they're going to try to bring some over into the country from the United States. Meanwhile, North Carolina is suffering major crop loss damage, and I shared an article about the sweet potatoes, how challenged they will be because Florence caused massive damage with these potatoes. We didn't necessarily see the big impact this year, but you will going into next year, you will definitely see the impact of Florence on that crop. So this is just going to be a growing issue. That sweet potato issue that they had in North Carolina, the article said that it could take up to 5 years, I believe, to recover the loss from that. So meanwhile, we have all kinds of places in Europe having shortages with potatoes and other grains. It's interesting to watch unfold. People really need to start paying attention and putting together their own plans to pretty much grow their own food. I mean, this is alarming to me. Even just this Thanksgiving, the quality of the potatoes, they were, you used to be able to get russet potatoes. They used to be huge. And now they're just probably, I would say, a third of the size that they used to be, from at least the ones that are here in New York on the shelves.
Yeah, we noticed that about produce in the grocery
Oh my
stores.
God.
Well,
Is it just me, or did you hear that space voice? I'm very sorry, Mari. I was so amazed about that voice. Can you please repeat what you said?
Okay, I'm just going to mute my mic real quick so Jake can talk.
Sorry, Jake.
That's all right. That's all right. No, Mari brings up a good point about the size of potatoes that we used this year for Thanksgiving and produce that we were shopping for throughout the holiday. And you know, I'm looking at our Grand Solar Minimum Twitter account at Grand Solar Min. That is the official Twitter account for Grand Solar Minimum channel here at YouTube, is at Grand Solar Min. But you know, Mari does a good job trying to keep up with all the crazy weather that's happening. But how many years in a row now have we talked about Saudi Arabia with snow coverage like this in their deserts? And we've got video footage here of what I believe people sledding, that, you know. And this is funny to me that they've included this kind of music.
Groovy, man.
I looked into this more. I believe it to actually be hail, not
It's not snow.
Yeah, this article says it's snow, but I believe it actually to be hail.
That's impressive hail.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a meteorological breakdown explanation as to why. You probably would have been able to explain it better to the masses than me. So I'll show you that article and you could probably cover it tomorrow.
I just think it's amusing here. These people are really taking advantage of a rare situation and having a good time with it. So
here's this grown-up men having fun, you know.
Yeah. You know, here's the lighter side of things, I guess. Pretty hot there most of the time, so they probably enjoyed this. I'm sure of it. Let's see what else we got going on here, guys. There's that sweet. Go ahead, Henrik.
I just want to say that I want to grow indoor potatoes this year in buckets. It's just to say what Mari was talking about before. You know, it's a very good idea for people because it don't takes a lot of heat and a lot of light to grow potatoes indoor in buckets. If you have a good window with just about 20 degrees Celsius, and you have the heat inside your house anyhow, so why not use it?
Yeah, yeah. Here's a little bit of a recap of the cold weather here in the Northeast. Thanksgiving. We got an 8 degrees temperature up here in the northern part of the Northeast. That's impressive. A lot of these are records here. Coldest November max temp on record. Hartford was 21 degrees. That was a record. 29 degrees in Bridgeport, coldest since 1989. Boston, 24, coldest since 1901, over 100 years old. Providence, 24. Albany, 19 degrees. That was the coldest since 1938. And we saw a lot of 1938 records crushed up here in upstate New York. And this was probably my favorite global cooling meme of the year. Mr. Gore being chased out by Old Man Winter. If only this was on a t-shirt. Ben Garrison is getting the credit for this. Great job. Sorry, I think this would make a great shirt. So
Absolutely.
He has so many great cartoons. I've been following him, and now I have to share them. I shared another one by Ben Garrison today. It had spin the wheel, Al Gore. See which one you land on. I believe it's further. It's further up. There you go, Jake.
Yes, classic memes here. Anything involving Al anymore. It almost there's something refreshing about someone who you don't really like, who gets pointed out for being wrong, and it's funny. It's not abusive. These memes aren't personally insulting him or calling him a vulgar name or anything like that. Just we're insulting him with actual facts. So kind of like that football coach that leaves your team and then goes stand on the other sideline of the team that you rival twice a year. You like it when they're decimated with facts and not just ad hominem attacks. But again, guys, if you don't follow us on Twitter, please check us out. Mari tries to keep up with all the weather and I'll tell you something right now. I think Twitter is one of the best resources for truth. Anyway, I know there's a lot of abusive people on Twitter, and it just depends on what kind of crowd you follow. But when it comes to climate and even debates on climate, I think Twitter has the best and the most resources to pull from and actually get the truth. Now, I will say that there is one individual, I'm not going to name him because I respect him as what he does in his profession, but I feel like that guys like him who are in the national spotlight, he is a well-known meteorologist. I think he's more known in the UK, but he did a write-up not too long ago where he was telling us that we can explain to our families about how we can still have coldest temperatures ever and why it's still global warming. And at first I kind of got a little disappointed about the situation, but then I thought about it. And it's just like everybody else who tries to tell the truth. At one point or another, you're going to stop and think and scale back because maybe you don't want to lose your job, or maybe you don't want to lose your credibility. Because this guy right now, in my opinion, has pretty good credibility. He does a good job predicting certain elements of cold. And again, I'm not going to name him because I don't want to disrespect him. I'm not trying to call him out, but I feel like that, as we were talking earlier about how the mainstream media is starting to talk about cooling and global cooling cycles, there are a few people out there who are still afraid. I think that when they make comments like that, where you can say that we're cold, but we're still warming, I think that's a way of them trying to appease both sides of the ball so they don't lose any respect from either side, because it's possible this person's career was catapulted by the AGW and not a cooling factor. So I don't take it personal, and I don't take it as a blow to the cooling theory. I just find it unfortunate that really good people out there, really good scientists who do know what they're talking about. And this guy has reported the truth. And so far, I guess the truth has favored the cooling community, as this person felt the need to post this because I think certain people were starting to get to him on Twitter, trolling him about, talking about the cold all the time. And the fact is that that's the unfortunate thing that he has to talk about right now. That's the biggest newsmaker. I mean, Hendrik, is there any record-breaking heat to report from your side of the world right now?
Nope.
Mari, have you heard of any record-breaking heat to report right now from our side of this world?
Absolutely not. You know, oh wait, well, you know, all the 190 turtles that died from the
173.
Oh, yeah.
freezing cold. That's global warming. It's global warming's fault, Jake. Just so you
Yeah,
know.
I saw up
I
to
couldn't believe
4,000.
that when I read that, but whatever.
That's the article that she's talking about. 173 sea turtles are dead off of Cape Cod due to cold, but they do.
I wrote, Jake, I wrote it was up to 4,000 in total.
How many
4,000 in total.
sea turtles?
Yes, sir.
And where did you see that?
Oh, I don't know, but I can try to afterward to find the article. I'm pretty sure I wrote it was up to 4,000 in total.
Yeah,
I will not forget that number.
yeah. When you get a chance, show that to me as well. I'd like to post that link on our site. But this person here, you know, Bob Prescott, the Massachusetts director of something, Audubon director here, Mass Audubon director. He said 227 cold stunned turtles were recovered from the Gulf of Maine since Wednesday, but only 54 have survived. The largest nature conservation nonprofit in Massachusetts regularly patrols the beaches this time of year looking for cold stunned turtles. But this was many more than they expected, he said. This is way too cold. Everything was so slushy by yesterday morning. Some of them are small. It didn't take long for them to freeze. Most sea turtles migrate between areas where they can find food and areas where they can give birth, and typically to warmer waters, according to Sea Turtles, a conservative tourism project that aims to protect sea turtles. Prescott then told CNN that he attributes the death of the turtles to global warming.
Yeah.
Unreal.
We are just full of sound effects for you tonight, Jake. This is what you get.
What?
I don't. What was that sound, Henrik? That was you.
You always blame me for sound.
It sounded like a donkey.
You're the one that always has a cat with a mouse in its mouth and drops it right at your feet and say, "Hello, Daddy. I brought you something."
I have a new cat actually. He's sleeping right now, and actually yesterday I did notice I have two big African snails. You know, and now I'm the happy daddy of 14 new snails.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
What are you going to do with all those
Congratulations.
snails?
It's protein in the grand solar minimum.
I want to feed them every day.
Hey, Mari, do me a favor. Could you bring me a drink from the kitchen facility to the office facility?
Would you like me to make you a sandwich as well, Jake?
No, I'm good on that front. I'm just thirsty.
Okay, hold on just one moment.
Thank you.
I would like a sandwich, please.
We're taking orders now. Who else in the chat would like a sandwich? Right now, I think the choices are between bacon and turkey.
You want a root beer?
That's fine. That's fine. Go ahead and open that out there so we don't have the loud pop as we.
Oh, you'll get accused of drinking beer.
Yeah, it's beer.
Actually root beer because that's how the trolls are. There you go, darling. All right. Okay.
So we were talking about how NOAA's posting articles about, you know, we're lucky to see cold weather, and by Thanksgiving we're lucky to get snow. USA Today tells us that there was almost 1,000 flights that were canceled as this storm snarls through Sunday today. And let's take a look real quick at the actual radar to this. Let's go to grandsolarminimum.com here and check out the weather maps that we have here on our website. Again, Mari is going to be in the process of revamping things just a little bit here. A lot bit. Yeah. It's actually,
the whole website's getting renovated.
She does a really good job of revamping things. Let's take a look at this real quick, guys, because the heaviest of this snow was through Kansas and through the Midwest of Iowa. And as you guys see, I've zoomed in. I think it won't let me zoom in anymore. Yeah, that's as far as I can zoom in. But There's a very thin line right now of snow on the northern edge of this. And in front of it, we're talking about rain. Temperatures are mild right now compared to what they've been. And let's see, there was something here. Blizzard warning for hitting Manhattan and Sabetha, moving towards Topeka. That was earlier today. This is in Kansas. Snow touchdown in northeast Kansas Sunday morning as areas lie under a blizzard watch. 5 to 10 inches across the area expected as the snowstorm rolls east. The conditions have already shut down several roads, including I-70. That's a big deal. I lived in Norton, Kansas for about 9 months, and I was doing some insurance work out that way. And I can tell you, they get weird weather, especially late in the spring. I remember the year I was out there, and this was during, believe it or not, this was right before we hit the peak of our max, but we would get cold enough temperatures overnight for snow, and by midday would be a high of 51 degrees. So we would get 5 to 10 inches of snow overnight, only for it to melt into the afternoon. And then 2 days later, the same thing would happen again, 20 degrees, 25 degrees outside, and blizzard-like conditions. And the next day it's sunny and the snow is melting. So very odd. But we do have some winter. We do have some winter. What was you saying there?
Cheers.
Thank you. I'm thirsty. God, I can't believe how thirsty I am tonight.
It's this air, Jake. It's like really dry in here. We got to get the humidifier going.
I guess. My goodness. The National Weather Service has issued a winter weather advisory tonight through early Monday for afternoon for Branch, Calhoun, Jackson, Berry, Eaton, Ingram, Livingston, Iona, Clinton, and Grayette counties in the WILX viewing area. Winter storm has been issued as well. Well, let's see. Where is this area exactly? We were talking about Lansing, Michigan. So I'm not sure if this is where our friend Radical Gardener is, but we are looking at some snow. 4 to 8 inches will be possible north of Lansing. The cities of St. John's and Iona for Lansing, Charlotte, Battle Creek, Howell, 3 to 6 inches is expected. Jackson could see 1 to 4 inches. Hillsdale and Coldwater could see 1 to 3 inches of snow. Now, the only reason why I'm mentioning this, I'm not trying to sensationalize these snowstorms as they continue to climb through the country, but I wanted to share it because we are talking like this is winter. Like we are already in the middle of winter right now, and we're still technically 3.5 weeks away from calendar winter here in the United States. So the level of storms that we're seeing coming through, it's just not making sense to me when I see articles from NOAA that want to tell us that we are warming and that the climate is at its worst shape ever because of man-made global warming and what we have to do to change things in 10 years or we're done. And I really believe that there is a underlining message when people say that. When they say we'll be done in 10 years, it's not going to be because of global warming. And I'm not saying we're going to be done in 10 years, but everything.
Didn't they say that 10 years ago?
What's that?
Didn't they say that 10 years ago?
Yeah, I believe Al Gore said by 13 that our children wouldn't know what snow was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like pushing back dates for a mythological planet to crash the solar system. They keep setting a date, and then the date keeps coming and going, and no issue. And, these global climate alarmists out there will do this every now and again to help push political policies through their agendas. And I really believe this climate report here is a strong push in trying to get these newly elected Democratic Congress people into writing up bills that will once again reinstate the Obama regulations that were in place for 8 years because, hey, look, NOAA's saying it's, we're in a bad spot right now, so we better get it together. And I've just, the NOAA Facebook moderator continues to tell me that they don't even know why they bother engaging in these conversations with me. Every time I make a comment on one of their posts on Facebook, they have to reply to it. They do every time I make a comment on one of their articles. I don't comment on every article. I'm just only the ones that make me laugh. But it's funny because they always engage with me, but then they're also the first ones to tell me that this is not a place for climate debate. This is a place to they accuse, or they assume that they're presenting us with actual scientific data, and that that's what this place is for revealing scientific data and not making sensational claims. But yet they keep engaging in conversation with me. Why are they talking to me? I'm just one out of millions of people that encounter their website. So why are they only responding to me? Like, there's other people that actually disagree with NOAA that does not get the reactions that myself and even Mari. I mean, Mari, you've had some experiences lately on that thread.
Oh my God, they won't even leave you alone. Once they jump on you, it's like pounce, 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 pounce. And it's vicious trolldom. That's what it is, Jake. They are relentless. I almost blocked them just because I got so sick of getting the notifications of them trying to prove themselves. One gentleman was saying that I could take the raw data and just pop it in a spreadsheet and look at the data myself. I said, well, that's one thing if the actual raw data was not corrupt to begin with. You can't base accurate data sets on flawed raw data. And they didn't like that too much.
Well, you know, and it's, to me, they tell me that they're not going to put up with my my comments being debatable, but I wrote them back and said, well, you know, I don't think it's fair that you guys don't condone the ad hominem attacks that come from the NOAA supporters. And for all I know, they're NOAA trolls. They're possibly people that work for NOAA that run their Facebook page, and they are there to deflect anyone who's trying to get the truth out. Because fact of the matter, and Starman is doing a wonderful job on his own research to unveiling that they are also cooking the books. People like Rob, we talk all the time about it. He's another person that's alerted me to El Nino, how it's not really happening right now, and just other factors throughout everyone in the community that pitches in. And there's so many of you out there. The list is growing. The Discord, I haven't been around much. Honestly, Mari and I, the last few days, and Henrik, I apologize too, because I know you've wrote me a few times, but we have been absolutely swamped. I worked 36 to 38 hours over the last 3 days. And during the week, it was just a normal busy week, but we haven't had as a lot of time as we'd like to dedicate to those forums and chats. But now that the busiest part of my year is over with, thank God, we'll be able to get to more focusing on the social media platforms and the chats. But we just thank everybody that has participated, not only in the chats, but in the Discord. And you guys are awesome. Facebook, we get messages from people all the time sharing articles. Hendrik's constantly sending me articles. I hear from Rob all the time about certain things. Miss C Gypsy. Again, there's so many people to thank that contribute on a daily, weekly, monthly basis and help support this channel. So, guys, we appreciate it. And we're always going to deliver truthful, factual news about the climate, about the weather. It won't be overdone. It won't be sensationalized, but it will always be accurate. And for the most part, if we make a mistake, we'll come out and apologize the next time we're on the air, or retract a statement, or show the correction. So I just think
we will make mistakes.
We will, absolutely. I've made several, and I know that won't be the last time.
But that's all natural, because science is about making mistakes also, you know, and then correct them, and then tell the truth. Well, I'm sorry. It used to be sorry.
Well, and you know, you make me remember how I hear people all the time that think that science is settled, and I don't think it is. I think there's still a lot more to learn about our climate, our planet, everything. The way man affects it, how much it really does affect. So far, I'm convinced that we have a very small, minor impact. The science of grand solar minimum, to me, makes a lot more sense than this theory that man is causing extreme weather events and droughts and fires. And, man might be responsible for the fires because if you're setting them, that's one thing. But, these extreme weather events have happened before, and that's not me debunking anything and saying it's okay for them to happen because it happened before. All it's saying is that it's happened before we had this industrial boom. It's happened before the population grew to 7.3 billion. And the point is, it's going to continue to happen. There's going to be a reset button appearing to me anyway, that is going to be hit every so few decades. And, when we were looking at Twitter a minute ago, and Starman had that really interesting setup, and this is what it did last week to me. Kind of stopped, let me scroll up and down. But, the famine in the 1600s, that wasn't a coincidence by any means. And that's why there's so many people out there now who talk about preparing and prepping and indoor growing. What a wonderful idea to start thinking about getting your indoor grow going now and not later. I don't think we have that time right now. I think everyone has focused on growing crops outdoors. And I think if you've anything, you're priming your skills. That way you can start doing this. I think it's time to bring stuff indoors. I've said this before. I'm going to continue to say it. It's time to start growing indoors. And I think we're going to see too much weird weather to focus on outdoor growing in the near future. Crops are off the charts everywhere. I'll hand it to Christian over there, Ice Age Farmer. His reports on crop loss and farming are top notch. And one of the things that he's always done a really good job at is pointing out the food situation, the food loss that we're going to experience. And, he doesn't sugarcoat it. And some people like that and some people don't. But it's something that we should consider and think about, because if we just act like that's not going to happen, that's too fast, or that's too much, or we're too big to fail like that, that's when you get that, oh man, we just got caught with our pants around our ankles moment, basically. So, and I don't want to be a part of that. I think it's time that we are aware of the possibilities, and it's nothing wrong to talk about what could happen from time to time. In fact, Henrik, maybe we should do a show where we'll pretend a role-playing situation. What would you do if the grid got shut down where you live? What are you ready? Are you ready? If we got a solar flare tomorrow, are you ready?
Well, I don't think anybody for real is.
No.
Not even preppers.
I mean, Mari has a nice little start to her prepping collection. And what I'm saying is that she has a lot of nice basic things that can be useful for a situation where we might actually have to use it. But as we're going through these supplies, we also realize that there's other things that we still need to help us. Yeah. I wanted to bring up something. First of all, this is the planetary alignment everyone's talking about. Nothing on the weak side of the sun right now. And that's where, if you're a lone ranger in that area, where a solar flare on that side of the sun, where all the planets are lined up on one side, and look at the formation that we have right now. I mean, it's almost, 3-on-3 with the bigger planets, and then a couple little ones here, right, lined up with the sun. But the solar flare that developed here, the minor one, it looked impressive, but the sunspot smack dab in the middle, when it first formed, there was a little bit of concern to watch this area. And I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. Let's get this ridiculous snow off the sun. It doesn't snow. So that's a little it's a little bit of an up close view there, and it's not as impressive now as it was like in the very beginning part of this clip where we see the birth of the sunspot. There's a little bit of a filament eruption that we were watching as well. And like I said, Ben over there, Suspicious Observers, made the comment that we're on a critical quake watch, and sure enough, within 24 hours, we had 2 that were over 6.3 hit the planet. Today we had one in Iran. Mari, did you ever back up any research on that into that Iranian earthquake today, or is it just still stands what we saw earlier at 6.3?
I have not had a chance to look into that, Jake. Anytime I see an earthquake around that region, I just was like, and I have to look into it still. I just have not. I've been sort of consumed with trying to prep the website for the relaunch. I do apologize.
And I think what Mari is referring to when she has that moment when we see an earthquake in Iran, a 6.3, well, remember when North Korea was still kind of doing crazy things, what we thought were earthquakes in North Korea that were showing up on the seismic activity were actually nuclear tests. So the red flag for us today was that a was that a bomb that went off? Just a very rare area to have earthquake in Iran. So I wanted to take a look at a futurecast look on the GFS, and we have some active weather patterns coming in here. I believe in November, the second half of November started off with most of the cold air in the Northeast. Now I think over the Midwest, the Central Plains are going to start getting their doses of winter weather. This is a system that's going to move through the area, through Ohio, into the Northeast, should all turn into snow by the 27th of November. The Northeast will be inundated with light snow showers, and this system kind of hovers around for a couple of days before finally fading out by Thursday, November 29th. But on the backside of this, colder air being brought in from Canada, then we do get somewhat of a struggle here where we're going to start seeing a little bit milder temperatures, and I'm just talking about upper 30s and lower 40s until we get to the first week of December. But look at the Northwest, guys. More moisture coming in. California getting more rain, more snow in the higher elevations. And as we look into Thursday, November 29th, just heavy precipitation all up and down North California, the far northwest corner part of the United States, receiving rain and snow. Heavy snow in the Sierras. Look at that. Definitely something to watch here, November 29th. That's a situation. But guys, this area right here where it's yellow and blue usually indicates very, very heavy amounts of snowfall, possible thunder snow as well in that region. But as we go on to November 30th, weather moving across once again the Midwest, all rain, some freezing precipitation on the northern side of this, but for the most part, it just kind of fades off. And then look at this low pressure system here. December 1st, this is where things are starting to get a little tricky. Lots of snow in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Northern California. Areas where NOAA is telling us that the ski slopes are going to suffer, basically. The areas that we're not going to see snow is going to see snow, and lots of it. December 1st, this storm system that's moving across the Midwest is an exact repeat of what we're looking at right now, except the southern part of this has got a lot more moisture. And watch out for the tri-state in Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio River flooding could be possible with this event as this moves off into the Northeast. This is going to be all rain on the eastern side of this, and the back half of this in northern Canada will see snow. As that system moves out, more colder air is starting to filter in from the Arctic through Canada. And look at this. We're going to see some cold temperatures push down into middle California, possibly southern California, Texas once again on the western side, and all this heavy snow in Wyoming, Montana, and Colorado once again. And this storm picks up some steam. And this is only the 3rd of December, guys. This is a kind of a snowstorm that you would see in late January, early February. All right. Taking this through December 4th, giant low pressure system, rain in the front, snow in the back. And this is where we think we're going to start seeing that polar vortex Arctic blast. I mean, we've got cold air all the way down to the border of Texas and Mexico on the 5th of December. The higher elevations in California, Nevada, you're getting more snowfall, and ski resorts all over this in the West and Northwest are getting more than what they need for a successful ski season to begin with in the first place. This is a system that people think that could be a nor'easter on December 5th. Lots of rain, also snow as the colder air starts to follow in with this. So this is a potential northeast storm that we are going to watch as well. Being up here in upstate New York, this will affect us as well. This storm moves off the coast of December 6th, and then another plunge in temperatures, cold air. Once again, this goes well into Mexico. We've got snow chances, guys, in northern Mexico. All right. It's December 7th. We haven't seen the coldest air yet. And by the 8th of the 9th, GFS is really suggesting that somewhere in this area, we are going to see some serious action of a low pressure system bringing tons of moisture. We just hope this stays off of the coast and doesn't form into that predicted possibility of a nor'easter. Meanwhile, that cold air is still diving in from the Arctic into the northern plains and the Midwest. And then by the 10th of December, we will see the east and northeast inundated with snow coverage, snow showers once again, as winter looks like it's ramping up. But then you get the story of two sides of the country where on December 11th, it looks like half of the country will be freezing temps. The other half will be normal, mild fall temperatures. Nonetheless, very active weather pattern here to come. And this system right here is concerning as well. This one here that kind of gets going after this big one leaves the Northeast, the December 6th. Another one starts forming in the Gulf and rides up the East Coast. We'll just have to watch the high pressure systems in Greenland and see if we have any blocking going on. Since we have these maps up, Henrik, and you're on the show, it would be rude not to include your region. So I'm gonna try to get it. Computer's acting funny tonight, Mar.
You know, it's probably because we're both on streaming live.
Yeah.
And I'm bogging your mojo down. I'm sorry. I can hop off, but you know, I'm just to pop in and giggle.
I got it. Okay. Lord. So let's zoom in a little bit where Henrik, your neck of the woods, and put this thing in motion. So temperatures right now are pretty average for you. Nothing too impressive to speak of, huh?
No, it's cold now, and the next 2 to 3 days, especially in the nighttime.
Well, looks like you guys have your fair chances of rain coming up here in the beginning of December. In fact, it's going to be wave after wave for a little while. Looks like you guys get a little bit of snow around the 10th of December. So that cold air, and man, we've seen a few pictures from Russia on how much snow they have. Mari, you posted a picture earlier today where the snow is up to the street signs. Do you know exactly where that was, or have you seen that picture? Maybe that was me that did that from severeweather.eu posted that. So
I do. I am familiar with that picture. I believe it was just north of Siberia.
So we're talking probably 8 feet of snow at least.
Yeah, it was huge accumulations.
Jeez. All right, let's take a look at some other things here. The North Atlantic sea surface temperatures starting to trend back down. I was watching this graph, and it looked like it was going to continue to go up. It might have reached its peak, and now we might start seeing a downtrend in temperatures in the North Atlantic as waters are beginning to cool down quite a bit in that region. Here is a look at our El Nino temperature, 34, 26, 27, 28, 28, 29. Not a lot of change. Staying right in that area that it needs to stay. We need 3 months of the rolling average of 0.5 or higher. And right now we have just now entered the 60-day period of temperatures at 0.5 or warmer. Now, after that, if this is a late forming El Nino, we should see temperatures on these waters really heat up in January, February, and March, if this in fact will turn into a weak El Nino. Still a lot of time to see, and also still a lot of data to go over, as I'd like to look at some of the other independent researchers out there who have done the numbers and recalculated things, and the warming is not as warm as NOAA and others have reported. And that is already what we've shown. I talked about the sea ice extent. It's moving along quite nicely. In fact, there are areas right down here where we're starting to see that growth. And like I said, it's starting to cool down up in this region big time. And I think this is a rapid growth. We went from 1.1 millions of square kilometers to now 0.6 millions of square kilometers within that medium range here, that average. So things are definitely dropping in a hurry. The rate we're going right now with the sea ice extent, we're going to definitely exceed the numbers that some of these folks who like to point out that we're melting, but they're going to see a different temperature and a different growth as we progress forward into this winter. Now, Henrik, was there anything that you wanted to add before we wrapped up tonight's show? I know I did most of the talking. How is your new channel with your friend Matt? How is that going? Have you guys been able to, are you guys still doing shows and stuff like that?
Sorry, yes. We are doing a weekly show, and then we are putting up some different kinds of documentaries and stuff like that. So it's going okay. We don't have so many subscribers, but we're not monetized in any way. So we're not doing anything to, you know, come on, subscribe. We're just taking it easy, and that's fine with us, you know. So we are enjoying it.
I know when you told me about it, the first time you told me about it, the first thing that went through my head is that's a great idea, just a channel to have to blow off steam and make your mind think in other directions and just climate talk all the time. Because, you know, too much of this is a bad thing. You got to keep your balance of sanity somehow. So I applaud you for being able to have another channel to talk about things that don't necessarily reflect climate or temperatures or anything like. This is totally different subject that you're doing. What's the name of your channel again?
The Ancient Night channel.
The Ancient Night channel, and that's Night, N-I-G-H-T. I recommend you guys check it out.
Yeah.
Again, it's just nice. It's a channel that, you know, you guys leave the door open. You know, you're asking questions. So, and there's a lot of humor that's involved as well. So how long have you known Matt?
I think in this life and the life before. It feels like that.
There's a lot of people out there, I think, that are like that. You know, you just have this connection with people, and you just don't know why. I know I feel that way with a lot of folks that I'm friends with throughout the community. Yeah. You feel like a relative somehow. I don't know how, but you're related to me. I know in some weird way, whether you're my crazy uncle or a crazy cousin, you're something of that realm. Anyway, I didn't pick you. The cosmos picked you.
Yeah, and I say the same to everybody who knows anybody, you know. That's not just me. But before we go, Jake, I just have to say, you know, in the start of the program, we were talking about all those links I have found about different kind of Russian scientists about the weather, and it's a lot of links, and it's going back in time, some of them, and there is actually also a few one with Putin. There is especially one from 2010 where he went some with the Russian and German scientists to an expedition called Lena 2010, where they were studying the Russian Arctic permafrost, and Putin asked each one of those scientists point blank, is climate change caused by a man? And the answer for all the scientists were, we don't know. And there's actually videos where they are talking about it with Putin. That's a good one, I think.
I'm going to, I didn't get to review everything you sent me, but I think those are articles that I could bring up this week as well on the shows for Monday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night this week, and possibly Tuesday and Thursday. It just depends on what's going on. But I really appreciate you taking your time, and I'm glad you brought up the Russians, because I think we've talked about it too before in the past. They tell the truth. The Russians.
But you know what? I actually thinking about one of the two biggest leaders in the world, Putin and your Trump, don't believe in climate change. Putin, he has been said, the issue is not the issue is not stopping, because that's impossible, since it could be tied to some global cycle on Earth, or even of planetary significance. The issue is to somehow adapt to the climate change. And he's also saying that.
Well, and that's key. I mean, he realizes, if anything, even if he doesn't want to believe in man-made global warming or not, he said it beautifully. We have to adapt and deal with it, and that's all we can do. We can't stop it, and we can't start it. So you better get your prepping pants on and learn how to adapt. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I got to be honest with you. I don't know about you folks out there, but as I was eating my Thanksgiving apple pie, and how delicious it was, and how amazing this. Oh, I mean, like, how much longer am I going to be able to enjoy a delicious pie like that?
Oh, shut up.
I'm just saying, it was the best damn pie I ever ate in my life. I've never.
Shut up.
Where are you going with this, Jake?
I'm just saying, like, how I'm finding myself savoring food that tastes that good. Like, I am just thinking in terms of, are we going to have this kind of food in 10 years from now? If crops keep looking the way they look, and we keep getting shorter yields and punier product, I mean, maybe we're not going to waste the apples on pies in the future. Maybe it's a part of more of a planned meal, instead of, like, because to me, baking a pie is a luxury. It's an accessory. It's not a necessity.
You know what, Jake? In Denmark right now, the clock is almost 2:30 in the morning, and you know what? You're talking about apple pie, and at that clock in the night, everybody's always hungry. So thank you.
I mean, I'm talking about apple pie that's warm with a scoop of ice cream on the top. I mean, it doesn't get.
Can somebody stop that, man? Bye. I need your help.
He loves his pie.
Could you like kill him very slowly?
Just waterboard me. Don't kill me.
Oh, dear.
Well, Mari, would you like to say hello to everybody in the chat? I know you kind of keep up a little bit, and just kind of give us a full report on how everyone's status is before we wrap up.
Everyone, hello in the chat. I'm trying my best to be diplomatic in the chat. It's hard for me to keep my mouth shut sometimes, Jake. So I'll just say hi.
Boy, I'll have to.
Yeah, well,
find out what happened later, I guess.
I'm still simmering from Thanksgiving. So anyway, it's a pleasure to just be on and say hi to y'all. And Henrik, hello.
Hello.
I'm glad to have you here. So that's all I got, Jake. We got Robin here, Miss C Gypsy. There's a lot of new faces in the chat. Hello, hello. Great to see y'all. Welcome. I'll put the Discord chat link back in the chat as well. So if you wanted to join us while we're not live, while we're offline on YouTube, you can join us in the chat in Discord for posting links, asking questions, all that.
All right, Mai, I have a question for you, Mai.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see in the chat if there is a young, beautiful woman with a lot of money and a heart failure?
Oh, I haven't seen one yet. You want me to keep my eyes out for you, Henrik?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. All right.
So Henrik wants us to do a Grand Solar Minimum eHarmony website now too. So we'll go ahead and
GSM dating scene.
We'll do that ought to be a hit.
I'm sure you can come up with a good catch thing like Ice Age something.
Well, we know Henrik could definitely come up with some good slogans for that.
Oh, Okay. We'll say that WTF Sky.
All right. That's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Henrik, thank you for joining us tonight. Hopefully we can do this again next Sunday. I think that would be a good shot.
Yes, sir, I'm on. I got a new battery in my phone.
Awesome. And I like how tonight went. I think this is going to be the format on Sunday nights. You know, during the week, I'll read articles, give opinions about what's going on, and give you guys the news. But on Sunday, I think it's useful. And I think we're going to grow this as well, where we get more than just us on here, having just a round table talking about climate. Guys, feel free to chime in when I'm ever going through an article and something strikes you and you remember something, because I know how I am. If I don't say it right away, I'll forget it. So you're not going to be rude by interrupting. You guys are guests on the show as well. So I encourage more activity if you guys want to the next time we do this. But I'm hoping to grow the panel a little bit next show, and hopefully we can get a group of people that will go on live on Sundays and just have a discussion about what's happened over the last several days or even the last several years. But that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. We really appreciate you and your support to this channel. Please tune in tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, as we will do another Grand Solar Minimum News Update live Monday, 9 p.m. Visit us on Patreon as well. And guys, with that, I'm going to sign off. Henrik, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Mari, thank you for assisting as always.
Always a pleasure, Jake.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. We hope you have a great end of your weekend, and we will talk soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.